Stogie T.
Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Um,
Afternoon.
oh yes, that one. Alrighty, so
What's
I
up?
wanted to talk to you about, your involvement in the artwork and all the art elements of Stogie T's drop.
He gave me a shout about the cover, and I just didn't have time. So
Ooh.
I didn't have time. It was really hectic on my side. I mean, COVID, like all businesses are quite crazy. So at the
Yeah.
time he called me, I couldn't participate. So time went on, and it was deadline like weekend. And he calls me again and says, dude, this thing, please help, because it's not working. So basically he called me on the Friday where they were printing on Sunday. And yeah. And I was like, okay, you know what?
Luzuko.
Look, let's do this.
All right, so let's talk about the animals artwork. I mean, when I look at it, okay, so it's got a very vintage kind of feel, almost Elizabethan, old school European. What were the references, and how did we get here?
There. So it was inspired by a reference that they gave Stogie and the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a portrait example of a Renaissance painting.
Yes.
Right? I was like, oh, okay, I can incorporate this in the artwork. And also they wanted some animalness of it. So in the scam, I did the difference between that and the scam is that I did make them look a little bit like animals, where I stretch their ears and put some teeth coming out. And he was like, no, actually, to my surprise and to my happiness, no, actually leave it as is. But basically the inspiration was they actually wanted it to almost reference the Renaissance. So yeah, that's how it came about.
Okay, now let's move on to the Dunno artwork. I have to take it from memory since I'm not wearing it right now. But I remember.
I'm also speaking from memory.
So with Dunno, the background is blue, and
Yes.
there's some flowers, orangey, a touch of red in there. And what I noticed is that the stems of the flowers are question marks.
Yes.
With Stogie and Nasty. So how did we get there, and what inspired that?
So yeah, I mean, this as well came as a result of asking, okay, what is Dunno? What is Dunno? What is this? Oh, and then they explain. It was like, okay, actually they don't know. They don't know all these things that I'm capable of doing. They don't know that I've done this, that I've done that. They don't know all of those things. So essentially how I interpret that was that, the people don't know the fruits that you bear. They might be aware of the one that they pick up, but they don't know what the others that are still up there have been doing. You know what I mean? And it's a lot about the perspectives that people have. You've only got one perspective. You see Stogie on TV, you see Nessie on TV. You don't know anything else, about them. There's so much more to them. And I related because that's as well, how I feel about, how people view me. They just think that, oh, okay, he's just an art director, whereas there's more to me. So I just drew inspiration from this garden that's just producing fruits that people don't know, and yeah, I mean, hence the question marks, where you have this fruit. I mean, this tree that actually is bearing, question marks. If you want to find out, you have to listen to the song. And yeah, that was the inspiration.
And the color selection, because I mean, there's obviously two very different feels to animals and Dunno. What informs the color selection? Why not a grayscale or a monochromatic scale where there's no color, so it's more obvious, like you don't know, you fill in the color?
Yeah. I guess that's where the creative, allowance comes in, and that's where you also note, like as I was talking about, like I like depth, so and then also the colors that I use, you'll find me in them, and like actually even my clothing resembles like similar colors, so that's where a part of me just starts to come in, as well as I didn't want to, and this was the other thing that I wanted to make sure of, that these two covers feel like they're coming from the same place. If you look at the placement of the artist, and the way the frames are put on the first one, and the way Stogie and Nasty are put on the second one, there's similarity, as well as like the tones. I wanted them to feel like they're from the same house, right? So that it's not like one is not far-fetched and the other one is from another world. So that's another thing that I kept in mind when I was doing them. So I was doing them, putting them aside like this, and say, okay, can they live together? If I put them up there, will I say they are from the same world? Yet at the same time, what puts them apart?
What separates them? Yes.
What separates them? So those were the things that I was thinking about while doing them. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that there's a little bit of irony in the Dunno artwork, just simply because it's all about things that you don't know. However, blue, from what I know, is a communication kind of color. It's a reveal things, talk things, those kinds of things. So the fact that the blue is so striking, is that a little bit of irony, a little bit of a flair there?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, some of these things you put them there coincidentally, but when they come together, it's like an artwork. You can start exploring and saying, like, I think this blue stands for that. If you've been to an art exhibition where people are starting to receive the different things that that you wouldn't have plotted there, but are actually speaking that. So it can definitely speak to that. Yeah.
So finally, how do you feel when you see it all come to life like that? You're seeing it everywhere on the digital covers of the songs. You're seeing it on people like me who are wearing these items. How does that feel?
It feels so nice. Like, like the industries that I work in most instances, the work, as the process that I've explained, the work that you really want to push to see out there sometimes doesn't make it. It doesn't make it out there. You will find like just a dumbed down version of it. So it's so nice to see the process from the thought to the product, and seeing just people embracing, what you've done, yeah, like it's really beautiful, and I'm glad that it's appreciated and it